So this morning I've been digging out the planter a bit deeper, and we tested out the pond as well, put some more water in the pond to see how we can actually get that to possibly work with a recirculating pump. And I've just been mixing up some soil with some potting mix and whatnot to get those things planted. I'm doing the grunt work. My wife is telling me what goes where. I've just taken a break for lunch and having a bit of a burn off of energy for Batman because he starts to get a little bit toey if he doesn't get any exercise. And he's enjoying this one. He's having a few drinks in between and wanting to keep playing, but I'm going to have to go back out the front in a minute. He's scampering. I don't want to go in the dirt. Get out of it. Go and play it. So, one completed planter from reclaimed hardwood pallets. As I was just getting the last of it planted in before watering, my wife said, that turned out really nice. I wouldn't mind another one just a little bit further behind it. So it looks like I'm going to be looking for some more hardwood. Just been walking around the yard, looking at things, all the stuff with the cleanup. I have never noticed this view from my yard before. And it's probably because, like, see the area that's been cleared behind, that used to be so overgrown and along our fence line that you could never see straight down that valley. That's gorgeous. I actually came down here because I'm thinking of hooking my, I've got a hammock chair and I'm thinking of hooking it up into that branch of the tree. So I'd be hanging about here and you'd basically just look straight out to that. And I really want to hang it up now. I was just exploring around the rockery area. We're thinking of either this Arctic fern tree or possibly one of those two, or maybe both of those two, are the ones that we're thinking of putting up into the front of the yard, front of the house. So these ones are basically situated pretty well where they are. But these are actually native to the area. You can see there's several in my neighbour's yard. And they don't grow too quick. Good to have them there. Some of them are looking a little sorry, especially this one. Probably needs a better spot. You can see just there. That's the area that was set up for a gate. So that's what I'd like to eventually get that gate, or a gate, put there and redo the fence line. Wire it up better and maybe get ivy growing over it or something. Because people do walk behind here, and now that it's been cleared, they'll probably get more people walking along there. Found this massive rock shelf in our yard when I was clearing it for the bushfires. And so there's a little grassy area there, and then grass around there, and then up the hill, up to the house. Saturday afternoon. We went out yesterday to get some pots from like the cheap shop. There's a cheap shop here called the Reject Shop, and they had pots on, like the prices were pretty good. So we went there. My wife actually rang them first and asked them, like, is your store busy or not? And we went down there. In the store, it's not a really big store, a little bit cramped. But we're sitting there looking at things, and these people start coming up the aisle, and their masks are like this. There was an elderly woman and a young bloke. And my wife just went, people aren't wearing their masks properly, and she walked away. Oh, we don't like going out. And when I looked later, the elderly woman had moved her mask up and put it on properly. But the guy just continued to walk around the store with the mask down here, like he couldn't give a rat's. So many people aren't socially distancing. They'll lean it, like you're supposed to be 1.5 meters, right, apart. And when you'd be standing at there looking at something, and people would lean across you, and like exactly like that. Okay. Excuse me. And it really, when you know that things are still not that great, and the numbers are still higher, and there are cases up in the mountains. We actually found out like there was a separate section for the mountains, and there's quite a number of cases up here, but it's so spread out. There's so many different towns, but there was 3 cases in the next town to us. But down around Springwood, it was like 15 or 25 cases in that area, Springwood and the towns around it. So the cases are around, and if we can avoid going out, we will. But there's some things that like we're on holidays, you want to do things, you can't go anywhere, so you want to do things around the house. So anyway, I wanted to power wash the landing outside the kitchen door. And I did it 2 weeks ago. And I plugged in everything, and when I switched it on, my power washer's not working. So now I've got to try, like all I did last time was unplug it, pack it away, put it in here, get it out again, and it's not working. So I've got to try and figure out what to do with that. But we've got an exterior power point up there. And when I rebuilt the landing, it used to be stuck to the old railings that used to be going around it, and that beam or railing went into the brickwork, so there was a big hole in the brickwork of the wall. So what I've done, I got some conduit, probably about a 1-inch conduit, no, probably a bit more bigger actually, 1.5, to run the cable for that exterior power point through that and mortared up the hole. But now I need a way to mount the power point on the wall, and I've still got some leftover timber from the exterior stair rail, so I'm going to use that, cut a piece and fix it up because it's been hanging out of the wall. So you can see that's where the old beam used to go straight into the wall. Same thing up here, so I've mortared up the holes, but this one, I put this in since the power point came out, and I want to put a piece of timber here so that this can basically be mounted here like this. This is just an outdoor power point. It would be so good to be able to have this all set up. bad. Got the angle going right through it. So that's in place. This is the first time I've ever used this brand construction adhesive, and it's incredibly runny. I wish I'd used the white one I usually have, but I didn't want to use the white because then it would stand out. This stuff's going to stand out. When this is dry, I'm going to come back and clean this up with a chisel because it's just too messy at the moment. But yeah, it's really runny. There's no sort of grab and hold on it. It says it's going to take 24 hours to set. So I've got all these pieces of timber jammed into it to keep it in place. Let's open that up a bit. Having those doors just made it really hard to get into this. So now with it open, it's just like having shelving. Stuff can't get hidden away like some of my other cupboards. So finally getting around to cutting out this citrus tree. And while I'm doing this little one we're playing fetch up the yard and he keeps bringing it back down. Good boy. Ready to get on with it. I've just dug the hole out around the edge. I've already pulled out some bamboo roots. And I'm just going to scrape this soil back and see what the roots are like for this and dig it out without damaging it. Well, this is the smallest cicada I've unearthed in this yard so far. Probably one of those little black princes when it comes to emerging, I don't know. Oops. Okay. 4 hours later, and he is still going. Tree's in, which he's having a look at it. It's being watered in at the moment. He's going to drink from the hose. Must have emptied his bowl. There's a little water bowl out here. Getting pooped. Alright. This whole afternoon he's been bringing the ball back to me while I've been going down there, and I've been throwing it up the yard, and then I've been throwing it down the yard while I was planting this. He'd stop for a rest every now and then, lie down in the shade. It's been a good afternoon for him and me. He's had so much playtime. And he's still going. Checking out the old hole. There was a lot of bamboo around the roots of this one too, but it was like big clumps of it, just growing over the top of the roots of this tree. But it's done now. Get that nice and watered in, and then I'll give that one another water. It's meant to rain, I think, in the next couple of days. I went down to fill in the holes and found some of the bamboo stems, so I started chopping at them to dig them out. Hit one that was a little bit greener than some of the others, so it was still fairly strong, and it split the handle on my mattock. So I'm going to have to get a new handle for that, otherwise stuffed. Can't do anything in the yard. As I angrily threw away the broken handle, I realised I can probably now use that to make a short handle for the little broken mattock head that I've got that only has the hoe side of it, not the axe side, that I use for digging around so often. So a nice small handle on that might be good to do. This is the new normal. So it's been a morning of running around. Wife's getting into doing a bit of stenciling, and she needed a craft knife. The only place that sold them was Bunnings at Katoomba, and they wouldn't do click and collect because it was a knife. And she wanted some Gorilla Glue, the super glue style, and Bunnings didn't sell any Gorilla Glue. So I had to go across to Mitre 10, which was just across the road. They sold a lot of different Gorilla Glue products, so I got the super glue from there. Now the reason she needed the super glue, she'd bought some really cool garden gnomes, and she'd also bought herself a bamboo shelf which she wanted out on the porch. She put it under the kitchen window, and she measured that space and knew that it was the perfect size. Trouble was that we then put the fake grass tiles down, which lifted the floor level. Tried opening the kitchen window one day, it wouldn't close again, and it had gotten caught on the shelf. We got it unstuck, sat the shelf there again and said, we're probably going to have to think of some way of moving this or shortening it or whatever. But in the meantime, she set these 3 garden gnomes on that shelf. Forgot they were on there, was in the kitchen again. Wound the window out, because our windows like swing out. And then she just heard a crashing sound, and she said to me, I forgot about that shelf. I'd put my garden gnomes on it. I don't want to go out there. I went out there, and all 3 of them, they were a hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil set. And all 3 of them were smashed. Had no super glue, so that's what we needed the super glue for, so we can repair those. Of course, I picked up all the pieces. There'll be a few little noticeable cracks, but they're so cute, we just want to get them fixed. 3:30, 3:40 in the afternoon, and I wanted to get these guys out because it has already rained a little bit today. Ground's a little wet. And it's Tuesday, and it's meant to rain every day for the rest of the week. It's a 90% chance of rain tomorrow, apparently. Needed to get these guys out. Have a little bit of exercise. I wish I had the camera going in the truck. because Batman was silent the whole trip until I started to park, and he knows what it feels like or what it's like when I'm parking, and that's when he goes nuts. Getting so much better.